Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randirhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy us a podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
You'll have plenty of those Democrats coming over, and you're going to say, no, sir, no, thank you. No, ma'am, perhaps, ma'am. It may be Pocahontas. Remember that. Crooked Hillary wants far-left activist judges forced over there by Bernie and by Pocahontas. And Massachusetts is represented by Pocahontas. So now we'll only have Pocahontas to think about, because I think, I think maybe it could be Pocahontas. I hope so. I hope it's Pocahontas.
What do you make of this?
I think that he has a very long history that far precedes Elizabeth Warren of being derisive toward Native people, going to 1993 when he was trying to protect his own interests and keeping the Mashantucket Pequot tribe from gaming and using any sort of competitive edge, including alleging that there would be more mafioso than since John Gotti or something like that.
That's exactly right. Bingo, everybody. Bingo. Hello. So, is Trump is he an idiot or is he a complete dick? See, that's what I say, Brett. He could be both. Brett is correct. Everybody, Brett is correct, and we're not even 5 seconds into the show. And my crack staff was already correct on two facts, that he is an idiot and a dick, and his son did not fall far from the tree. Oh, my God. Okay, so, this thing about, the sleazoid commentary that he made under a portrait, and listen, this happened during the show yesterday, so I know I'm the first one that noticed. And, of course, it was my staff. It was Scotty who noticed that they were standing under a picture of Andrew Trail of Tears Jackson. Yeah, it was. Scott said, wait a minute, Randi, watch that video again. Play it for the audience again. Because after this weird holiday that we have called Thanksgiving, where we thank the Indians for not letting the pioneers die and then slaughter them all by, hiring a president, number 7, Andrew Trail of Teal Jackson, who signed the Indian Removal Act, it's a weird holiday. So to add insult to injury, the idiot and the dick president insults the Navajo code talkers instead of honoring them yesterday. And I know we were the first ones to notice that he did it in a room where he's got his favorite president, and that is his favorite president, Andrew Jackson. And it was just the most insulting, bizarre, twisted, imagery. And this is a guy, he's a reality TV star, everybody. That is who we hired to be the president of these United States, is a reality TV star who understands staging and branding and marketing and putting product that you want to sell in the shot, okay? And he did that on freaking purpose. And so after the show, I started to wonder, what is his deal with the Indians? What is his deal with the Indians? Oh, that's right. I remember. And I said to Howard, didn't I, Howard? This dates back to when he wanted to get into casino gambling, which of course he did. And this is the idiot part of the dick, okay? Only Donald Trump's house in gambling could lose. There is no other casino on the planet that loses. Ask every degenerate gambler in this country, okay? The guy in Vegas that was shooting out the window and dead up to his freaking eyeballs, right? A big degenerate gambler. I'm serious. Only Trump's casino's house could lose. The house never loses, except Idiot Boy. He is the exception to the freaking rule. So the whole thing, goes back to when in 1993 he testified in front of Congress. And this is important for you to remember. You know why I love this little clip? Because when I was looking for it and I found it, I realized this president is such a dick that he hasn't changed his tactics in all these years. He was sitting there testifying to the House and he was arguing about gaming, and he was alleging to the House that he could, and this is funny because this is what he always does, that if he, this is just like the birtherism, okay? That's another example of, him being a dick. The racism of the birtherism. And, of course, the Mexicans are rapists and all that stuff. And Muslims have to be banned and every other thing that he does. But back to the gaming thing, he actually did exactly what he does all the time with the birtherism. You won't believe what we're finding. Remember that? I could produce evidence and you won't believe what we're finding. Well, it turns out in 1993, he's testifying to the House. And they're wondering, whether or not they should give gaming licenses to Indian tribes. And so they had hearings, and the FBI had previously testified ahead of Donald Trump. Can you believe Donald Trump was sworn at one time? Yeah, but the FBI had recently testified, during these hearings that there was no mob, there was no mafioso, there was no Gotti, there was no mafia influence in the Indian gaming community, and that the Indians were running very legitimate casinos. They were doing a good job. They were transparent with where their money was going, which was back to the reservation. And Congress was interested in, helping the Indian reservations find a way to support themselves, and they had chosen casino gambling, and they were running it very well. They were doing the right thing, and Congress was mulling over whether or not to legalize gambling, et cetera, et cetera. And then Donald Trump came to testify after the FBI had testified that they had looked into, the cleanliness and the transparency and the business practices of the Indian tribes, and that they were doing a really good job with their gambling. But Donald Trump wanted to open a casino, and he didn't want competition. He didn't want competition in Connecticut. He didn't want competition in New Jersey. He didn't want a competition anywhere on the East Coast. And so he testifies, you won't believe what we're finding. There's like mob all over the place, but you people in Congress, you're so closed-minded because you're so politically correct. It is pretty amazing that he has learned no new words. This is so telling. Just listen to this clip. This is amazing.
In spite of the FBI testimony that this is not a significant problem, Mr. Trump, in one sentence you say they are the most capable of agencies and that you're not a law enforcement expert, and then you tell us that you have superior knowledge to their knowledge about the extent of organized crime on Indian reservations.
Mm-hmm. You've got a totally closed mind on the subject, sir. We could walk in here with the greatest proof in the history of the world, and frankly, your mind is so closed for whatever reason that I can't believe it.
But you don't have that.
If you really want to study this,
yes.
When you tell me that there are no FBI agents assigned to the Indian reservations, and yet you have tremendous numbers in Las Vegas and in Atlantic City, tremendous numbers. In fact, two of their largest places. I want to tell you something. You have a long way to go. And for whatever reason, you have a closed mind. I don't know why. Perhaps you could tell me.
No, Mr. Trump, I have a closed mind against evidence that is not substantiated.
Oh, well.
I have a closed mind against statements that are made about other people in generality.
You're going to be very embarrassed in 2 years, sir.
You go on a radio show and you say, now some drunken Indians want to come down here and open a reservation.
I didn't say that, sir. Quote it. I didn't say that. Who said that? Who said that? I'd like an apology right now because I didn't say that.
Imus opened the broadcast, so, excuse me, Mr. Imus said that.
Okay. Could I please have an apology?
You can have an apology.
Thank you, sir.
And then you went on to, is this you discussing Indian blood? We're going to judge people by whether they have Indian blood, whether they're qualified to run a gaming casino or not?
That probably is me, absolutely. Because I'll tell you what, if you look at some of the reservations that you've approved, you, sir, in your great wisdom have approved, I will tell you right now, they don't look like Indians to me.
What?
And they don't look like the Indians. Now, maybe we say politically correct or not politically correct. They don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like Indians to Indians. And a lot of people are laughing at it, and you're telling how tough it is, how rough it is to get approved. Well, you go up to Connecticut, and you look. Now, they don't look like Indians to me, sir.
What?
Thank God that's not the test of whether or not people have rights in this country or not, whether or not they pass your look test.
Depends whether, yeah. Depends whether or not you're approving it, sir.
No, it's not a question whether I'm approving it. It's not a question whether I'm approving it. Mr. Trump, you know in the history of this country where we've heard this discussion before, they don't look Jewish to me.
Oh, really?
They don't look Indian to me. They don't look Italian to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a test for whether people could go into business or not go into business, whether they could get a bank loan.
Wow, this goes a long way back. This man knows no other tricks. This is why I say he's an idiot and a dick. And he keeps playing that, well, you're going to be sorry in 2 years. And there's never been, a problem with India. And yet there was so much problems with Trump's casino. There was stiffing of the contractors. There was money gone missing. He took it public, and everybody that bought into it got their heads handed to them. I mean, this is just so unbelievable. So this is the origin of the racial slurs against India. They don't look like Indians to me. They don't look like, and I'm telling you, George Miller, who is the congressman in that video clip, is saying the FBI just testified that there is no mob involvement, and yet you want us to believe what you're saying without any evidence. And so, nobody cares what you say because you've produced absolutely no evidence that says that there's any crime, that there's any mafioso there. Meanwhile, Trump is now being investigated by a special prosecutor, by Mueller, for being mobbed up, for having ties to not just the American mafia, but to the Russian freaking mafia. This is unbelievable, the amount of deflection, and how he has not created one single new tactic in his entire professional, if you want to call it that, life of crime. It's just unbelievable. And that's the message he was sending to the Indians. That's why. And with all this talk in the media last night about, is it a racial slur? Isn't it a racial slur? Oh, and I got to tell you, Eric Trump got the hell kicked out of him last night on Twitter because Idiot Boy, who did not fall far from Dickhead's tree, tweets that he tweets the irony of an ABC reporter whose parent company, Disney, has profited nearly $500 million on the movie Pocahontas, interfering or inferring that the name is offensive is truly staggering to me. Moron, it's not the name. It's using her history, which is a valiant, courageous history. The story of Pocahontas. She was a teenage girl. She saved John Smith from being having his head chopped off by putting her head on top of his head. They don't understand. It's like, okay, so why don't I just call every Trump supporter some backwoods cracker? Because Ritz is a cracker, and it's good and good for you. Do you see how the use matters? Holy crap, man. Holy crap. And so Twitter went crazy and started tweeting at him and saying things like, can you chew gum and walk at the same time? Are you actually this dumb, or do you just appear to be dumb? Somebody else wrote, as others have noted, I feel compelled to reiterate, you have the intellectual capacity of a ham rolled in hair. Somebody else wrote, dude, lung division must be staggering to you. Disney told the story of Pocahontas. Your dipshit father used her name to try to trash talk somebody, in turn insulting an entire culture of proud people. Please put a helmet on before you hurt yourself. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.